Hey there. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things when it comes to cyber and CTFs, so I wanted to make a little walkthrough on the TryHackMe room called Traverse. This room is definitely on the easy side and aimed at beginners, but it still has plenty of good opportunities to learn. I've already started the lab machine, and I've already connected to TryHackMe's VPN with OpenVPN from my Kali Linux VM. I'm also probably doing this room a little bit differently than a lot of people. I'm doing a majority of this room with only OWASP ZAP, a Zed Attack Proxy. If you're not too familiar with it, it's basically an open source version of Burp Suite. If you don't have ZAP installed, just run sudo apt install Zed Proxy. I don't believe it comes by default on Kali anymore. Before we begin the room, I'll make some changes to ZAP. This room has website directory enumeration, so I'll change ZAP's default word list for that. Just go to Tools, Options, and Force Browse. I'll uncheck recursive since this room doesn't have many subdirectories under subdirectories. We're only going one layer deep essentially. Zap's default word list is also quite big, so I'll add a smaller one. Select a custom force browse file, and I want to use one of the ones for Dirbuster. On Kali Linux 2601, I can find the word list that I want to use under User, Share, Word Lists, Dirbuster, and then I'll choose the directory list 2.3 small, and make that the default file. Zap will need to be a proxy for my browser. The easiest way to set this up is to just open Firefox from within Zap, and it should let you know that it's working. It'll show red in the URL bar and there'll be a little robot in the top left. If I navigate to the target website, I should see that it populates in my Zap's current session context. So I'm ready to get started. Task 1. What type of encoding is used by the hackers to obfuscate the JavaScript file? So one of the first things I like to do is to view a web page's source code. Zap will show it under the links response section on the left here. This script tag right here is commented as a custom JS file, and it's also a minify.js file. This is denoted by the .min.js extension, and this also happens to line up with what the hacker's hint was, that they hate minify.js. Zap already found this custom JS file, and it's populated on the left in my context window. And if I look at it, it gives me a pretty long string of characters. It instantly sticks out to me as hexadecimal since it only looks like there are uppercase letters and numbers in pairs of 2. Task 2. What is the flag value after deobfuscating the file? Now, I could decode this with CyberChef, but I can also just use Zap. Highlight the hex, right-click, choose Decode. I'll make a new tab and add the decoding operation, remove whitespace to get rid of the spaces between the pairs. Then one more tab with another operation for ASCII hex decode. And here's the deobfuscated code. In the output, I can see console log here, and this prints out the flag value by concatenating a few different variables. Now, you could just piece together the flag mentally, but since it's JavaScript, I can also just run it in my browser. Open a new Firefox tab, hit inspect, head to console, then paste it in and run the code. The full flag should be listed in the output. Do note that you may need to enter something like allow pasting here before Firefox will let you do it. I won't show the full flag, but it is a very strong hint that the next task will involve web server subdirectory enumeration. Task 3. Logging is an important aspect. What is the name of the file containing email dumps? This is where directory enumeration comes in. In Zap's context panel on the left, I'll click on my site, go to Attack, and choose Force Browse Directory. And it should start automatically scanning the site for different subdirectories and files using the default word list that I set earlier. Anything it finds will also populate on the left here, but I'll just let this run for a couple minutes and then stop it. I don't need to let the scan complete to 100%. Using the small Dirtbuster word list found everything that I needed by about 30%, so I can just stop it early. Now, the task referenced logging, so the logs directory is an obvious choice to look at, and we see that there is a text file containing an email dump. Task 4. The logs folder contains email logs and has a message for the software team lead. What is the name of the directory that Bob has created? This one is pretty simple. Just look at that text file stored in the logs directory. Bob made the API folder under the name of the first phase of the SSDLC, that being the Secure Software Development Lifecycle. I'll just Google that, but if I was too lazy to Google, Zap also should have found the directory in question during the directory scan. Task 5. What is the key file for opening the directory that Bob has created for Mark? For this one, just read the email dump. Task 6. What is the email address for ID5 using the leaked API endpoint? So from the email dump, we know that the planning directory has API information. If I go there, we see simple instructions on using the API. The endpoint is just the API one that was also found by Zap earlier. The API has a parameter called customer ID, and it takes digits. I can test the API real quick in ZAP's Firefox browser. Just doing customer ID equals 1 shows user Alice. So the API also gives emails, passwords, login URL, and tells if the user has admin privileges. I can also see this request inside of ZAP. Now, the task was specifically asking about ID 5, so I'll just change the ID in the API request to 5. And there we go. You could also open the request in ZAP's requester tab and then change the request manually. Same result, just different look. Task 7. What is the ID for the user with admin privileges? This one could just be done by manually trying a few different ID values for the API. This room makes the value very low, but we could also fuzz it with ZAP. I'll right click on my API endpoint request, choose fuzz, highlight my previous customer ID value, add a fuzz location, add, change type to numbers. Then I'll just set this as from 0 to 100, incrementing by 1. So this will end up sending 101 different total API requests. After that runs, the payload column corresponds to the customer ID passed through the API. And if I look at ID 3, I can see that this is an admin account. I guess most importantly here is that the role field has value admin. Task 8. What is the endpoint for logging in as the admin? Well, looking back at that fuzz API response for customer ID 3, I have their login information, and there is a login URL field for this admin user. Task 9. The attacker uploaded a web shell and renamed a file used for managing the server. Can you find the name of the web shell that the attacker has uploaded? So at this point, I have the login credentials for an admin user and a URL to log in to. So I can go there and log in with that info. This takes us to an admin page, which is very interesting. In this drop-down menu, we have the options System Owner and Current Directory. If you use Linux at all, you might recognize the output here as the results of the whoami and pwd commands. So it looks like this site is directly executing underlying Linux commands on the host. If I go back to ZAP, I can look at the main.php under the real admin directory. In the last response, I can see that the current directory is listed under this pre tag. And in the request, I can see the commands parameter with pwd as the argument. I can send this request to ZAP requester. I'll change the command to ls-alh just to verify that I can execute arbitrary commands on the host. And looking at the response, I can see that I was able to execute my ls command without any issues. I can also see that there is a HTML break tag here with a password for the original file manager. This password will come in handy later. Now, the actual task was asking about finding a web shell that the attacker had uploaded, and I can see the web shell right in my ls output. Task 10. What is the name of the file renamed by the attacker for managing the web server? Well, that was also just found in the output of my ls command. Task 11. Can you use the file manager to restore the original website by removing the finally hacked message? What is the flag value? So in task 9, I found the password for accessing the original file manager. The underlying file for that web page was renamed, but the password stayed the same. I can just go there in the browser and use that password to log in. Now, this is the layout for the whole lab website starting in the web root directory. Of course, index.php will be the wanted target for the main web page. To be honest, you can just cheese this one a bit. The logic is just an if-else statement to see if the message variable says finally hacked or not, and the final flag is hard-coded right here. But to do it correctly, you can just edit this page, change the message variable to literally anything else, save it, then reload the website's main page, and there's a flag. Well, that's about it for the video. Pretty easy room. There also wasn't any requirement to further hack the web server, although since you have unrestricted RCE, it's pretty trivial to get a reverse shell and then work on privilege escalation to completely root the box. But again, not needed for this room. Either way, hopefully you learned something.